Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Our session is about to begin. I would request all of you to either switch off your cell phones or put them on silent mode. The name of the session is Springtime Voices, Poetry in English, and the moderator is Miss Ilona Yusuf. Ilona Yusuf is a poet and printmaker. Her professional life involves lighting design, which includes bespoke pieces that feature her artwork. Ilona's poems have been published in book form, Picture This, 2001, and therefore in literary journals in print and online in Pakistan and abroad. The participants for this session are Mr. Khalique, Ms. Azka Khan, Mr. Waqas Naeem, Risham Amjad, Mina Malik-Hussain, and Mehvash Amin. I'm really sorry, it's Mina Malik-Hussain.
Okay, now we're ready. So when we put together this reading, we thought that rather than just have Islamabad-based poets, we should have a good selection of local poets. And since there are lots and lots of poets, Pakistani poets living here as well as abroad, we decided that we should read from poets who are based in Pakistan. So we've included poets from Islamabad, Lahore, and Karachi. Mina is here with us from Lahore today. The sixth poet who was listed on the program, Mehvash Amin, was unable to make it. When I read her poem, you will understand why. What we're going to do is we will go in a round. Each poet will read a poem by another poet, and then a couple of poems by themselves. So I'm going to start. I don't know how that happened. Where's broken leg? Where's broken leg? You give it back, you have it. Does that work? Okay, so here is Mehvash Amin's poem, Broken Leg. So Mehvash was on her way and is probably here in Islamabad, but she says she's in too much pain. So here is her poem. Somewhere in the sky, two black holes had collided. No, nothing was amiss except a twist in the mind that had forced a misstep, then flight into immediate balletic space. Not that contorted, unknowable space-time of 1 billion years ago, of non-worlds marrying. But after the fall, I did look up at the stars. After all, I had heard a crack and known foreboding in the hollowed spaces of intuition. So I stayed with the heavens, sensing the other me, the one in some parallel world, still jogging on, knowing and avoiding that place where I would fall. That me would go inside and shower, would eat, would follow the walls of routine as surely as the migratory bird follows the tug that pulls it forever southwards. That other me would walk 1,000 steps a day, walk in and out of spaces, gym spaces, house spaces, shop spaces, but not find time or space to delve into the mystery of broken things, the clean break of death, the messier ones of crucifixions, missives, words spoken in malice. The other me would not witness the cleaving of a cast revealing withered flesh, would not recognize that solitary half space where the heart flares with knowledge, then dies at the sound of footfalls. Nor would it have learned, of course, the cruelty of staircases that bend to lampoon rupture in bone and ligament, nor the finials of whispers and side glances that crown hobbling forays into public spaces. Well then, so, this real me, the one that foresaw all this, felt for my phone, looked again at the universe, and got ready to walk deeper and deeper into the unknown and yet already familiar territory of brokenness. Okay, my poems will be last. You guys start. See if it works. Yeah, it's really capricious.
Hello, hello, hello.
Testing. Okay. Hi everyone, my name is Risham Amjad. I am a English language poet, and I'll be reading a few poems today, a couple of mine, and then one of another poet called Hira Najib. She's very talented, and this was published in the Boiler Room. It's absolutely brilliant. So I'll start with Hira's, and it's called Lahore. You are the lights burning low from the makeshift earth, ovens at the turn of empty streets, the women sweeping the pavement with 1 foot short of toes sliced clean from a factory machine. I hear you at my window, in the neighborhood guard's whistle, its shrill ring drawn in and out of the winter mist, in the dogs barking at the quiet. You are back streets flanked with homeless men, backs kissed to the scrape and dirt of earth, snores humming in the sewer. At night, its airy ribs throb with the echoes of hard-hit drums sent from a flaring of wedding tents. But mostly, you are the spring winds rippling kites, swooping low from cables, strung limp across skies to the scent of tobacco, and flowers beneath his collar. That was Hira's, and now I'll be reading another poem of mine. It's slightly long, and it's an excerpt from a longer poem that I read at a poetry slam last year. And I chose to do this because spoken word poetry, the kind that's read at SAMS, is a lot more accessible. It's easier to understand, and it's written specifically to be read out loud. So this is called Reluctant Feminist. I banned kajal and lip gloss and straighteners near my frizzy hair. I thought that being smart meant that you couldn't be pretty. I thought that because I made myself ugly, I was real smart. So I took sick pleasure in contrasting my plain face to their carefully made up ones, in comparing my wild, frizzy, rough pom-pom of a ponytail with their stick straight, socially acceptable, silky manes. High school was one day after another of resisting my femininity, even if I wasn't sure I wanted to. I didn't realize they judged me twice over, once for not putting in any effort, and then again because I had the nerve, the gall to not trade on the currency of my face, to not negotiate with the inches of my waist. There is an invisible rule book about being a girl that speaks through the mouths of fathers, uncles, brothers. It says, "You're free enough already, you're going to college, aren't you?" It says, can you believe it? Mrs. Chima's daughter got married straight after university. It says, अब ये बस करो, ऐसा सिर्फ बॉलीवुड की फिल्मों में होता है. So is there any wonder I want out of these tunnels where they want to trap me? So one day I can share a bed, share closet space, share air, share all the parts of me that I kept behind the wall the rule book made me put up brick by brick. It is not romantic at all to be seen as your damsel in distress. If I wanted saving, I'd call you. In my secret fantasies, yes, I want to beg on my knees, have you hit me over the head, drag me back to the cave, keep me barefoot and pregnant while I cook at the stove and spice and season just like your mother did. But then I wake and face the fight, to choose what clothes I can wear, where I may go, till what time, and if I may have the distinct privilege of being chauffeured there. I carry with me everywhere the weight of being a girl, a woman, not a person, but a set of orifices that could be filled if I'm not careful. I could be soiled in the sound of a zipper being lowered. So one trap after another I must navigate. Be beautiful, be smart, be capable, but only to a certain preset degree. What am I? An oven? That last line was a little attempt at being funny, so didn't work. So this next poem is shorter, and it's sort of a meditation on memory and dust, because I read somewhere that dust is mostly made up of human skin particles. So the dust around us that we sweep away, it's parts of ourselves that we're sweeping away, throwing in the bin, and so kind of like some memories that we choose to repress. So this is called I Believe in Dust. Green glass and aged crumbly brown cork. 5 million thoughts trapped in between the two and circulating in the air with oxidized memory. I believe in dust. In books no one touches for too many years, 7 to be exact, and clothes I haven't worn for 2 Novembers in a row. The air smells like all the houses I ever lived in. As my skin shreds and my hair falls in the same patterns, I have outlined memories in dust. I creep in through windows and navigate those glass walls with care so I don't drown face down in 3 inches of April 2003, pink camera tantrum, December 2008, took 4 wrong elevators at JFK, August 2012, the last time she knew my name. I carry my oxygen with me because I daren't breathe in any of that old song, new singer air that smells of Brill cream and the wood polish Amiji liked. It tastes like Quality Street chocolate and homemade plum jam from the trees the termites rotted. I believe in dust. Thank you.
I'm going to start with a poem by Momina Mela, who is a Lahore-based poet. This poem was recently published in The New Yorker. It's called How to Take Off a Sari. How to take off a sari, he asks and I tell him, our bodies falling from an open window. First, unfasten the pallu. The fall should be swift and vacant, like the backward collapse of a moving hawk on a windscreen. Wait for the bare stomach to procure the fatigue of renewed air, half breath, half smoke. Next, spin on one foot. The movement should be sexless, bad at love, as you fall, fall. Let the system of the city swell in the base of your throat. Drop the petticoat. walk out of its retreating puddle. This should be mildly theatrical. Depending on the sun's humor, measure the distortion of reflection between collarbones. Bask in the twisted heat. If the blouse is hooked at the back, thrust your elbows outward in imitation of a duck stepping into water. Unclasp blouse. If the blouse is hooked at the front, bring your hands to your heart as if full of gratitude, wanting to love, not knowing how. Unclasp blouse like an unstitched wound. Next I'm going to read out something I finished an hour before I drove to here, so I'm very nervous about it. It's part of a series of poems that involve a number of animals. And I'm very nervous about reading this out, but okay. This is probably still going to be fine-tuned a little, I don't know. Okay, so this is called Snapshots, the Year of the Hen. 1. Early days, I pass by the brother-in-law's room. His wife pecks at imaginary flaws. The son in striped blue pajamas, his toys interrupting the Afghan rug like landmines. The man of this kingdom within a kingdom stumbles, almost explodes. 2. At dinner, they feed me. More roti than I am accustomed to, and old wives' tales. See, under tip number 6 of how to get pregnant with a baby boy, it says, eat like a man, and I do. 3. Each night, we re-enter our breeding pen. The son in striped blue pajamas, starkly missing. We will make him here. This is how it starts. We will fill this space with his toys until it bursts at the seams, spills over, and colonizes the living room. But I can hear them just outside. The breath they've held for several cycles aching inside my lungs. And as if to motivate this brooding body, he tells me they're trying for another in that other breeding pen with the other dowry bed that I can hear creaking through the pipes as I slip into my nightdress. 4. The summer of the rat infestation. Our laying hens collectively stop. Maids return each day, eggless. There are holes gnawed into my wedding dress. There are needles, pap smears, reports. An expert on the matter blames stress, and we laugh at the idea of stressed hens until the cook stretches them across the cutting board and brings their bones to boil. 5. 29 hours. I hear his heartbeat sink with every push until they slice me open to draw him out. And when he arrives, a shade too dark, hair too black, I understand. The wedding ring on my own paler hands trembles. His father, still on his way, calls and asks, "Batao, rang kaisa hai?" Next I'm going to read a villanelle that I wrote a long time back about my son. Recently, my mother went on an umrah and she asked him what he wanted her to ask God for him, and he said, "Dua kare chor aur terrorist khatam ho jaye." So he's a very politically aware child. I wrote this about him. When I get home from work, I see his "Thank God you home, mama" wrapped around my knees. Saw so many bombs go off, thought you'd be dead, but you totally not. Oh world, quiet your chaos. Hush 9 o'clock news tonight, please. I'll ground all your politicians just to see his little face uncrease. I'll wash their mouths out with soap so he can't hear their unearthly rot, nor I see his "Thank God you home, mama" wrapped around my knees. I'll watch over him tonight so your wars don't infiltrate his dreams. We've barbed wires out of fairy tales to oust your slogans from his cot. Whisper, oh world, quiet your chaos. Hush 9 o'clock news tonight, please. I lay rainbow sprouting landmines along the borders of your disease. No man's land between outstretched hands to oust your slogans from his cot. Okay, sorry, this is... Okay, no man's land between outstretched hands to distance him from our lot, and I from his, thank God you home mama, wrapped around my knees. I'll develop weapons of mass distraction so I may guard and at will ease. Fears too big for his almost for body, sorrows too vast to be fought. Pray, O world, quiet your chaos, hush 9 o'clock news tonight, please. It's past your bedtime war, but they never stop telling your stories. Hour after hour, day after day, endless material from our blood is wrought. With endless, thank God you home mama, wrapped around my knees. And endless, oh world, quiet your chaos. Hush 9 o'clock news tonight, please. I'm going to end with a very short poem. It's called Why They Fear Us. Astaghfirullah for every inch between a woman's heel and the rim of her cigarette pants riding up. There are signs of the end of times in every nook and cranny of her narrow frame, but she shrugs, unaware, and there are tremors elsewhere. All 7.6 on the Richter scale traced back to these ankles. Even last year's floods were conceived here, breathed their first under her red toenails, and were set free. When one day she laughed too loud, and a man across the street paused to imagine her mouth. Thank you.
Thank you, Ilona. First, I'm going to read my good friend Moin Faruqi's poem. He lives in Karachi, and he's a painter and a poet. And the poem is titled The Still Life of Apples. Resting, if the whole world had stopped, a moment's mute eternity. Upon a scarlet skin, the window's radiance in a miniature convex glow, epicenter of space, the locus of chairs and doors, a table's distortion folds toward the fruit. Two still apples, quivering and vital in shifting light. That was Moin Faruqi. How much time do we have? 5, 7, 8 minutes? Okay. All right. There's a new poem. The title comes from John Keats. The title, not the poem. No. I'm not there, so. But pain clings cruelly to us. I speak in a high-pitched voice, so the quiet in me is kept unheard. The quiet is due to a clog. The clog is caused by a clutter, the clutter of life. The clutter of life is the clutter of pain, spread all over, skulking inside, plugging crevices and holes in my being, cramming all spaces, seen and unseen, filled so much, I become a void. The seasons of passion, anger, and lull bring no flower, no seed, no fruit to the barrenness of my soul. I scrape the dregs of time, eyes outlined in ancient kohl, upper lip sharpened by a dark mole. I desired none, only wished to hold her hand and cry. I, a scar on the face of the earth, she, a star in the vastness of the sky. And then there are two short poems. I read these in Karachi a couple of months back, but I haven't presented these poems here in Islamabad before. New poems written a few months back. This Burying Martyrs. Burying Martyrs is the title of the poem. We are turned into a funeral procession, all 180 million of us. We carry 100,000 bodies on our shoulders. We are told they are martyrs, and martyrs are light. Light like rose petals. But the ones we carry are heavy. They have metal inside. Bullets, shrapnel, pellets, nails. Tips of swords and daggers broken into their flesh. The bodies will dissolve in the mud once buried, but the metal will keep the earth hard under our feet for long. And this one is titled Remains. After the massacre, the night has fallen, moonless and dry. After the massacre, the night has fallen, moonless and dry. Let us collect the scattered body parts. It's easier, less painful in the darkness of the sky. An arm cannot be made out from a leg, fingers from toes, a child's torso from a big man's thigh. But what about the head? A head is a head, whether living or dead. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. This is good. I think this is fine. Can you guys hear me? At the back, could we have some silence at the back? Red shirts, red t-shirts. You guys are in charge here. Could we have some silence, please? Could you make sure that we have silence? Because we take this seriously. Could you have the doors closed as well? Thank you. All right. First of all, I am going to read a poem by Alamgir Hashmi, who is one of the old guard of Pakistani poets writing in English. And while he's based in Islamabad, he's out of the country at the moment. But it is my great honor to read from his fabulous work. There's a lot of it out there. And I wish that someday OUP will publish it again for all of us. Okay, this is called Pro Bono Publico in Pakistani English.
Sirji, do you recall that I have submitted myself on this subject before? It is now after, but I can submit my submission again in your respect. Our cottage industry is in boom. 5 babies are produced per minute. They come crying for international brands of powdered milk, which is requiring canal water. They will hopefully compete and complete with Brook Shield one day in the 21st century. Veil has really come down this time. As the poet said, on men's wits. The moon has the chance to shine out of sundry clouds and enlighten the nation during load shedding. The paddy is now standing foot deep in sulfur, hot liquid exhausts of the tanneries. While the politicians are making flowery, multilingual and maiden speeches, we folk are busy clapping for them and catching the content later on BBC, Voice of America, Doordarshan, or maybe PTV, PBC and BBG. I must say that my middle young bevy is pulling out a special antenna to watch national TV. I used to burn the midnight's oil before. No charm in working anymore. Everybody here is eating money half the week and making the books on the other days, looking over shoulder, pleasing the boss but cheating Allah. In any case, deficit is not a problem because inter alia suo motu and sub judice, we can always show expense as saving from German, Swiss and US aids respectively. Verily, at some physical and emotional cost to us. Every Friday, I am praying a prayer after namaz at Darbar of Data Sahab, 2 nawafil for personal help with balance sheet. May Allah show us the right path with His own flashlight and ever pull us out of the straight and narrow by a wide margin. Achha. This second one is by Kaila Pasha, who is again not based in Pakistan at the moment, but has a book of poetry to her name and is working on another one at the moment. This is called The Death of Nations. I was sorry to hear that you broke all your bones coming to tell the story of the death of nations. I was sorry to hear that it hurt to tell us all the borders are unmanned now, that nobody worries the crossing anymore. I am glad to hear that the bridges are open and sorry to hear that the journey nearly kills you. Not surprised, though. Something in the rocks was telling us this land will not be hospitable to our tread. These pebbles will move with malice beneath us. Gravity will pull our knees down hard. We will all suffer and bleed, thorn cut and sun savaged, wind blown, and some of us buried under heaps of dust. The land, angry for the barbs we drew, is angry at their removal. It loves softnesses and flows. It loves air currents and the roll of rivers. It welcomes the ravishment of a storm. It hates the clump of the human rot, the stab of wire buried underground. It despises the landmine most of all. Now, when the earth is returned to itself, bloodied, it will bloody us. It will bloody all of us. I am sorry your bones rattle now in your body box. I wish myself healer, but I am only the town crier here. I am only a reedy voice. And the rocks are anyway calling to me now. Come across, come cross. We have clickety-clack songs to play on your back. Yeah, we're not leaving here before we're done.
Go away. You have plenty of time, don't worry. Yeah.
Okay, now this one is one of mine. It doesn't have a title like most of them don't. Okay, so I'll just go. The gold octopus sits upon the shelf and watches things. It sees the children counting to 1,000,000, falling asleep with creeping sweetness. It watches the roll of her eyes as she struggles each day. Her temper meteoric, her dreams blank. Weariness snaking silver through her hair. The octopus sees it all. The quick two-step when nobody is looking, the brief sorrow of a glance in a mirror. Tentacled, gleaming, many-armed, marine Kali, the octopus knows that everything in the air must come down. That broken glass will pock skin and words like ink spread danger clouds, but slowly, slowly, she will turn to gold. Okay. And this is the second one, again titleless. 1. He asks me how to spell loneliness and I want to tell him my name. 2. It's cold outside tonight. I thought the wind only bit in books, but tonight even the stars are sharp. A scimitar moon stares squarely down. Confess tonight, I already know your secrets. 3. Silver shines through the grass, the trees, the water, longing touching me with renewed frost, exhaling mist into the dew. Water, water, wither roots. The wicker creaks as I lean back, and a cricket is startled into a brief silence. I can hear him, watchful, tense maybe, until the silence is reaffirmed. Night song. I am waiting for the blade to fall, offering my bare white neck to the moon. 4. I might have wept before, but there are no ivory nights in the starlight. Only a lone, whirring violin answering my midnight call. Thanks.
Hello, everyone. The first poem I'm going to read is by Hussain. Mr. Hussain is one of the senior-most Pakistani poets writing in English. Back in 1968, he won the Guinness Poetry Prize, and over the last 40 years, he has published a collection called Desert Color. Desert Album, actually. And he's been published in several anthologies and journals. So much for springtime. This poem is titled Blizzard. It raged all night. I could hear it whistling past eave and gable, and the rain spouts down the corridor to the sea. Polygons driven white, glistening, blue-lipped, in imagined snowdrifts. The cat buckled on the sofa, drinking heat from the single light. One-armed, the beggar slept in a ditch, his wound opening slowly like a mouth. A purple rose congealing, the blood flowered. Dream of a journey, a plane skidding years before in Riga, in a wailing wind, hot coffee and stale biscuits, and a pungent smell of leather and vomit and blue neon down the runway. Mind slides down a chute, half hopeful. I turn to see my winters gathered in ice, and that small child gone. Thank you. Okay, so now to my work. I'll be reading 2 short poems, and these are particularly morbid, so please bear with me again in the springtime. The first one was published recently in Subprimal. It's a poetry and arts magazine published out of North America. It's titled Death by Rejected Visa Application. I hope you can hear me at the back. So it's titled Death by Rejected Visa Application. Death came for Ibn Battuta as a bandit first, and then a shipwreck, and in a storm again, and again as a palace intrigue. He escaped each time until the last, to die when no one really cared if he lived or died anymore, not even death, nor Ibn Battuta. Empty pages on a passport would have taken him sooner. Thank you. All right, so this second one is titled Mourning. The men mourn differently, in my family, we seem awkward around our grief as if it was a first date. Our vocabulary of sorrow is justifications for loss. It happened so suddenly covers our guilt. It was Allah's will, assures our helplessness. The men in my family are disrupted by death. A closed shop, an empty office chair, marked absent in class. But their shock is a vacuous silence. What do we contemplate when the stories we might share are simply nervous glances at each other, offers to help with funeral arrangements? Perhaps we don't want to know death, so we run outside to stand idly in the street, or we sit quietly on plastic chairs indoors in this passage that was once a courtyard where Nani Ma's amrud tree saved our childhood from sunburns. The amrud's worm-eaten leaves are now my memories of this house. So many things have changed. The tree, grandmother. I try to imagine them alive, but more often than not, I don't see anything. Like reflecting pools, the faces of the men sitting around me stare back with my own vacant expression, and we all look away. Thank you.